Hello, scholars. We're going to try one that's a little bit more difficult, a lot more numbers. We have 1,278, and we're going to divide that by 6. First, 6 will not go into 1, so I'm going to put a 0 there. That'll hold my space. Now, of course, my first step, remembering dead mice smell bad, D really means divide. Now, 6 will go into 12. 6, of course, goes into 12 2 times. So I'll mark off that I divided. Next step going down my list, I see M, which means multiply. 2 times 6. 2 times 6 is 12. Now I'll look at my next step, the S. The S signifies subtraction. So I'll subtract. 12, take away 12, of course, is 0. All right, I'm certainly not done. My next step is to bring down the next digit. That's 7, so I'm going to put a little arrow showing that I'm bringing it down. After I'm done bringing down, I'm going to go right back to the top of my process, back to the D, which means divide. I'm going to put a check mark to show that I'm doing this, to keep track of all my steps very carefully. 6 into 7. I have 7. How many 6's are in 7? Well, there's 1. I divided, of course, successfully. So now, of course, I'll need to multiply by my new number. 1 times 6 is 6. After I multiply, I'm going to put a check mark here to show that I'm going to subtract. 7 take away 6. That's, of course, 1. After I subtract, I'm going to bring down. Here's my last number that I see that I can bring down. Put it right there as 8. Again, as I said before, after we bring down, I go right back and restart the whole process, which is to divide. And I'm going to put a little mark on my check mark to show where I'm at. Divide. 6 into 18. 6 goes into 18 3 times. I divided, so next I'm going to need to multiply by this new number. 3 times 6, again, is 18. I'll go ahead and subtract, because that's my next step here. And when I subtract 18 from 18, I get 0. Now this is how you know you're going to be done in division. If you have a 0 at the bottom, of course no remainder at all, and there are no numbers left to bring down, you are done. So 1,278 divided by 6 is 213. Let's go ahead and look at a similar problem. This time go ahead and hit the pause button when you're going to do the work by yourself. So first thing I want you to do is figure out, scholars, how many times does 7 go into 2, or does 7 go into 21? Go ahead and try that on your own, and please hit pause. Okay. What you should have gotten is, of course, that 7 will not go into 2, but 7 does go into 21 a total of 3 times. So I'll mark off that I divided. After I divide, of course, I'm going to multiply. 3 times 7 is 21. I'm going to mark off that I'm going to subtract. 21 take away 21, of course, is 0. And my last step to perform is bring down. I'm going to bring that 8 down right there. All right, I'll ask you again to go ahead and hit pause on this video and go ahead and divide, multiply, subtract, and bring down to find out what goes here. Okay, that was rather easy. Of course, 7 goes into 8 one time. That was not too difficult. And I'm going to go ahead and mark off that I divided. I'll put a check mark there. Obviously, my next step after dividing is to multiply, which again, this is pretty simple. 1 times 7 is 7. So if I am multiplied, my obvious step is to subtract. 8 take away 7. That, of course, is 1. Lastly, I'm going to bring down. I've already brought down the 8, so obviously I'm going to bring down this 4. At this point, scholars, I'd like you to hit pause on your video again and go ahead and complete this problem. All right, scholars, I would imagine most of you came up with the answer of 2. 7 goes into 14 2 times, and that is division. So I'll put a little mark there on my check mark to show that I did divide. Of course, going down the line, I'll need to multiply. 2 times 7 is 14. After I multiply, of course, I will subtract. 14 take away 14 leaves me with 0. Normally here I would bring down. There are no numbers to bring down, even though you could say there's a decimal point there and there's zeros, but there's no need to bring a 0 down because I have 0 for a remainder and there are no numbers to bring down. That's how you know you're done. So you know that 2,184 divided by 7 is 312. Okay, this problem, we're taking 2,345, we're dividing it by 5. So what I'd like you to do now, scholars, is go ahead and hit the pause button and find out how many times 5 goes into 23. Okay, 5, of course, will not go into 2, so I like to put a 0 there so I don't get confused later on. Good to keep everything organized and lined up in math. 5 you should have had goes into 23 a total of 4 times. So I'll mark off that yes, I divided. My next step is to multiply. 4 times 5 is 20. Moving down my chart, the next step is to subtract. 23 take away 20 leaves you with 3. Finally, our last step is to bring down. I'll take that 4 and place it right there. Again, what I'd like you to do now is hit pause on your video and go ahead and write down how many times 5 goes into 34. So I would like you to divide, multiply, subtract, and then finally bring down. And then we'll check it together. 5 goes into 34 6 times. So I'll mark off, I'll put a check mark right there that I divided. Next, I need to multiply. A new number. 6 times 5 is 30. That's what you should have gotten. Next, I should have subtracted. 34 take away 30 is 4. And our last step is to bring down. Bring down the next number, which is a 5. Okay, scholars, please go ahead and pause once again, telling me how many times 5 goes into 45. So I'd like you again to divide, multiply, and subtract. All right, 5 goes into 45 a total of 9 times. So I'll put a little mark there that shows that I divided, and of course that tells me next I need to multiply. 9 times 5 is 45, showing me my next step is to subtract. 45 take away 45 is 0. This is important because what you want in division is no remainder. You have a 0 here, and if you have 0 at the bottom and there are no more digits to bring down, that's how you know you're done. So 2,345 divided by 5 is 469.